Tom's Divorce is the 11th episode of the second season of Parks and Rec. This is directed by Troy Miller, and I thought this was an okay episode. Probably never going to be an all-time favourite, but there were certainly some good moments. So there will be spoilers from now as I talk about what happens. We have the main narrative involving Tom and I guess Leslie, and we have part of the narrative involving Mark and Andy. And I will say, I didn't actually mind the bit with Mark and Andy. Something I've mentioned from the very beginning, really, or as soon as it became relevant, the beginning of this season, I really couldn't care less about this weird Andy, Mark, and triangle that we have going on. Or at least Andy is trying to make it a triangle by wedging himself in there. And I really don't care. The story doesn't bother me. It's a bit repetitive. It's the same old. I do not care. But I didn't mind it in this episode. Andy and Mark were playing pool for Anne. And I was kind of curious to see how things would end up. And basically what happened, it kind of fell a bit flat, but in a way that was kind of entertaining, if that makes any sense. Because Andy won. He won the game of pool. But Anne still went away with Mark at the end of it, basically just saying, you've won, but this was ridiculous, don't be stupid. And I don't know, I just feel like there was something fun about the way Anne and Mark responded to this ludicrous scenario. I'm not saying I'm now a fan of the whole Andy and Mark thing, I still don't care, but I didn't mind it in this episode. The main narrative, definitely quite interesting. It starts off with Leslie finding out that Tom is getting a divorce. She doesn't know it's a green card marriage. We already knew that. We found that out quite a while ago. I think it was a while ago we found that out because Ron knew about it. But Leslie has no idea. She thinks it's a genuine marriage, and to help cheer Tom up, she sends him a man dressed as a horse carrying balloons, and honestly, I love it. I think it's fantastic. And they then go out to dinner. Everybody goes out to dinner at this restaurant, and there are dinosaurs everywhere. The bottles have little dinosaurs on the top. It's a fun environment. I really liked it. I thought it was a nice setting, and it worked very well. However, Tom is still not feeling happy, and the reason he's not happy is actually really fascinating, but we'll come back to that in a little bit. And Leslie decides, well, she says, I have to take him to a place where he can't possibly be sad. And my first and only thought was Disneyland. We're going to Disneyland, or Disney World, whichever is closest to Indiana. And I could not have been more wrong. They're going to the Glitter Factory, which is the strip joint in Pawnee. So I was not right about that. Disneyland would have been a better option, but they go to this strip joint, and needless to say, Tom's still not feeling great. And we learn why. He, first of all, confesses to Leslie in this really awkward moment where, first of all, Leslie actually, with Ron's help, takes Tom home to Wendy. She still thinks they're in a proper marriage. Wendy is there with somebody else, somebody she's obviously dating, and he doesn't know that she's technically married. It's a very awkward scene, but I found it to be quite entertaining. And Tom does eventually tell Leslie it's a green card marriage, and the reason he's been so upset and out of sorts is because it turns out he actually likes his wife, and maybe he doesn't actually want to get divorced after all, which I guess is the risk of a green card marriage. I imagine in most cases, if you have a green card wedding and then you fall in love with the person, that's probably the best case scenario. But unfortunately, they're getting a divorce and Tom loves her. So it's a little bit awkward. And I'm keen to see what, if anything, they do with that. Maybe this will be it. Maybe they'll get divorced and then every now and then Tom will mention her, but we'll otherwise move on. We also have the fact that Ron asked Tom if he could date Wendy once they'd separated, and Tom had kind of given Ron his blessing with that, and Leslie thought that was weird, because why would Ron go after Tom's ex-wife, still thinking at that time, of course, that it was a proper marriage. And I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to expect going forward. I hope they don't go on and on and on about it, but at the same time, if they want to lean into it for a little bit or mention it every now and then, I would be quite keen to follow that. So we'll see what happens there. I don't really have any predictions or any hopes. I don't really mind what direction it takes, but I'm hopeful. And then we end with the horseman and the balloons singing a song for Ron from Leslie. It's entertaining. I liked it. Pretty good episode, all things considered. I thought Tom's divorce was enjoyable, quite thought-provoking, and I'm keen to see what else, if anything, they do with this story with Tom. But either way, I really enjoyed this one.